Hey everyone, welcome back. We're in week 6 of our 8-week series, all about how the the 7 foundational steps of how to successfully launch your group. And if you're jumping in now, I am so glad you're here, but I'm going to send you back to episode 1 of this series. You can find it in last month, or if you're watching this later, just go back. What did I say today was 6? Go back 6 episodes and you can watch the first one, because really it's not going to make much sense jumping in now. Now, also, if you're just jumping in, or if you forgot to go ahead and pull it up, you can go to bethanyboring.com and download the 7 foundational steps for successfully launching your group. It's on bethanyboring.com, completely free. Just enter your name and email, and that way you can follow along, and you get a workbook, and you get a couple extras in there too, but completely for free. And like I've been saying, the reason I've done this, the reason I'm so passionate about groups, is that I really believe if they are done right, that's the biggest key. If they are done right, and if people have really experienced life transformational groups, then they're able to offer that and launch that successfully. But also, they follow these 7 steps. And the step we're talking about today is often the one that gets people in the most trouble, gets people in the most frustration, but also it's where a lot of people get stuck, along with last week. So these next 3 steps, the previous one, the one today, and the one next week, are the 3 steps that most people get stuck on. I even highlight that in the workbook, because again, leading up to this point, it's all a lot of head knowledge. Sometimes it's connecting, sometimes it's resourcing, whatever. You can find that oftentimes. Now, you might get the order confused unless you follow this, but it's not that hard to do these previous steps. But when you get here, it really takes training. It really takes experience, just showing up and learning the hard way. And it also takes training, and it takes being a part of a group and sitting with other people to learn how to do this well. Step 6 is facilitate your group. Show up and actually facilitate your group. And maybe mainly 3 things with this step. Number 1, it will not be exactly like what you thought it would be. It just won't. When you go to a group and you're launching this, especially if you're co-leading a group with someone else, it's not going to look exactly like you thought it was going to look. So be prepared for something to hit the fan. Be prepared for things to go crazy at some point. Be prepared for people to show up and say something that you're like, what? I didn't even have that in there, because it hasn't happened yet, especially if it's your first time leading a group like this. Number 2, if you have not gone through some kind of facilitator training, please at least acknowledge that there's a difference between facilitating and leading. Facilitating and leading, and even coaching and mentoring, you can throw out so many different terms. But if you are doing a group, that you want to make sure that everybody is seen and heard and soothed and safe and secure, all those S words, you need to make sure that you have some kind of training on what that really looks like, because it doesn't just magically happen. I would love it to do that way, but there really is a technique. There's training, there's listening skills, there's curious questions, there's modeling, there's offering the group choices. There's so many different things, and there really is a lot of dynamics going on with a group, that if you are in training, if you're sitting with someone as you're doing a group live, and you go back later and you review how it went, you'll be amazed how much more you can learn in that way, and how much more you can learn in those dynamic situations. And that is why we have tip community groups. And as part of that process, 6 months is all about experiencing. What does a group look like? What are the different models? And for 6 months, participants are just receiving, experiencing. The last 6 months, they're learning how to facilitate. They're learning how to show up. They're learning how to do the models that we talked about. They're praying over their steps. They're learning how to launch their groups. So then they're doing the work. They're not just showing up and expecting to know everything. And so with this process, I can recommend Luke 10. Luke 10 has been a major game changer for me. They offer amazing groups, and they offer the chance later on down the line to do some facilitator training if God calls you up to that. But that in itself has been such a game changer for me, to actually sit down with my coach, sit down with my facilitator, and he got to watch some of the group videos that I learned to facilitate. And you guys, I did not just start this on a whim. I had many, many groups where I had to sit with my facilitator. His name's Jason. And I had to sit with him, and he would ask me, okay, what did you do well on this call? And he didn't let me get away with silence. Do you know how hard that question is? Especially for a beginner facilitator. And I remember when they asked me that question the first time, and they had this like form, and I just skipped it thinking, oh, well, I can't think of anything good that I did. It was my first call. And I thought of a lot of things that I didn't do well. And then when we got on the call together, he just hung out at that question, and he really poured into me. And so not only did I learn how to become a better facilitator, I learned more about my strengths and how God had wired me. I learned that I really did show up in ways that I didn't even see in my own self. But then again, I learned how to offer that to someone else. Again, it's experiencing. So even when I offer my groups with my people, I'm learning from that experience how to show up with my group members when they're learning to facilitate. And you got to know that question is on our discussion. What did you do well? And I know how it feels to be on the other end going, I don't know. And eventually you'll find those things that you do well. And you'll find those things that you want to work on. And you'll find moments that God just showed up in amazing ways. That is part of the process. So again, if you have not gone through facilitator training, if you've led groups, which is great, but you have not facilitated groups, if you haven't spent curiosity time, if you haven't really facilitated conversation to make sure everybody is seen and everybody is heard, you really do need to get into some kind of training, some kind of group, either TIP community group, Loot 10, a group like that really does offer that. And we'd love to have you. Point number 3 is that in this facilitator role, in this leader role, that you already know what you are bringing to the table. Again, you should have already kind of thought of this back a couple steps ago when you were having these conversations with your people. Remember what you promised. Remember what you said this group was going to be like, and then make sure you're offering that here. Do not offer something completely different than what you promised. I know that seems like a duh, but a lot of times we get to this space and we get kind of caught up in the moment of, oh my goodness, it's actually happening. And we either A, realize, oh my goodness, I can't do what I offered. That has happened. Or B, you're like, wow, I don't know if that's enough. Like, I feel like I can do more. Between those two, you would rather get stuck with B. Every single time you would rather get stuck with B. Anytime I do a group, I'm thinking, okay, I know for sure I can promise this and this. But if I can put anything else on there, that's icing on the cake. I love to be able to do that. But I always make sure when I'm talking to people, I don't promise things I can't deliver on. I learned that the hard way. So again, the people that you have in the group, they're getting what you already promised you would be getting them, maybe even more. And so I hope that makes sense. Get into the facilitating part. It's not as easy. If you have not been in a group where you feel like, wow, Bethany, I haven't been in a group where I felt like I got to talk and I really felt close to all the people in my group. I never been in a group where we shared at heart level and I really felt transformational change. Please consider joining either a TIP group, which is a smaller 6 to 8 week group, or a TIP community group. We would love to have you because, again, experiencing is what you can really sit with and get curious with and reflect on and then offer it right back to the people that you've been called to serve, to the people that you've been called to be with. So again, experience first and then offer second. Same thing with facilitating. Experience facilitating first and then learn how to train and do that and then offer that for your people. If I can help out in any of that way, I would love to. I would love to field any questions that you have. Again, you can visit bethanyboring.com for any of those website links and to get the free 7 essential steps to launching your successful group. Or you can also email me at bethany@stepoutandthrive.com with any questions you may have. All right, guys, next week is our last final step, and I cannot wait to see you back for that, and can't wait to see how you guys do. So looking forward to next week. All right, see you guys later. Bye.